Yesterday, Finn Allen, just destructive in Dunedin. 16 sixes, and about 4 or 5 of them completely out of the ground. So he would have cost well over $1,000, I think, in replacement cricket balls for New Zealand cricket. A stunning innings. Always had so much potential, and we saw it at the T20 World Cup last year in the opening match anyway against Australia. But it's just about picking the right balls, showing a little bit of patience. The last 2, if not 3 knocks against Pakistan, well, certainly the last 2 at Eden Park and Dunedin. I mean, the guy has been the chief destroyer for New Zealand and set a total that Pakistan were never really going to chase down. Has he finally got it? Has he finally broken through? Simon Doull to start with. Thanks for joining us again, Doull. Happy New Year, mate.
Happy New Year to you, Marty. You're well?
Oh, I'm good, mate. I'm really good. Puppy is almost house trained. I've got to touch wood when I say that. So he's kind of dominated the Christmas holidays for us. Yeah. Okay. Cast your mind back to when you had little babies, mate. It's like that, except the only thing with the puppy is it poos and pees outside of a nappy wherever the hell it wants to.
Yeah, exactly, and choose your shoes.
Yeah, everything, mate. So yeah. How was your break? Did you have one?
A little break, yeah. We had most of December off, which was nice. Ended up back in India to do a short stint in the India-South Africa series, and then just finished up the India-Afghanistan series now, so heading back to Dubai.
Finn Allen yesterday, I know that you've read this. I don't know how much of it you saw. 16 sixes, Simon, and, mate, about 4 or 5 of them were out of the ground. So I think he cost New Zealand cricket about $1,200 or $1,300 in balls. Yeah, look, a year ago, we were talking about Finn Allen quite a bit, and I just don't think he was the finished product. He's clearly worked hard in that last sort of 7 or 8 months. He's developed his game to be more than just a sort of a one-dimensional player. And I'm really pleased for him, actually. I wasn't sure he could go away and do that, but a bit more maturity, a little bit more time. And to reel off 3 scores, first one was decent, second one very good, and then obviously what he did yesterday in Dunedin was just exceptional. So to open the batting to strike in T20 cricket at 165, I think he's in the top 2 or 3 of strike rates for opening batters in world cricket at the moment who have played more than 15 games. So he's clearly starting to come of age and starting to put the rewards or the scores on the board that New Zealand have wanted and needed from him. So, yeah, I think might be a turning point for him against, what still is to be considered a pretty good Pakistan attack. I don't know how much of it you watched, mate. I mean, the bowling, we had coming there yesterday and he said the bowling was dumb. They seem to be bowling in his slot. But, hey, I mean, look, he doesn't control that. He just controls what he's doing. So a couple of things about this. He's made mention of the fact that those around him are giving him the license to go. So that means that there's a guy up the other end. Conway's in an absolute rutter form at the moment, but Kane, before he got injured, giving him a license. So they're playing a bit more of an anchor innings. But it was all about shot selection for him, wasn't it? That's what you used to talk about, getting his head right and actually just realising that you don't have to hit the tar off every single delivery.
Yeah, and reaction, I think, Marty. That was the one thing I saw with Finn Allen a lot early on, was that he was premeditating rather than reacting to what was bowled to him. And, for a big guy, he plays the pull shot, the hook shot really well. He's got unbelievable power. We know that. And so if he remains in the moment and reacts to what's delivered, I think he will have success. And he seems to have turned a bit of a corner on that front. So that's the key. And, just watching some of these Indian players in the last few weeks, when that happens, the frustration for myself, for commentators, for probably some New Zealand fans is when they're going searching for something that is not there. When you have that, what we term big boy power, like Finn Allen does, you don't have to go searching too often because there will be enough balls in your wheelhouse, in your arc, if you just are able to rotate, strike, and put those bad balls away, and at times putting good balls away. And I think, as I say, I think throughout the series, he's got better, obviously, with a 30-odd in the first game, 70 in the next one, and then the big 100. It just shows me that there is some maturity creeping into his game now, which is a great sign for New Zealand cricket and for him.
Pakistan, this is what I'm quoting coming from yesterday, and Craig was saying, look, they only bowled one wide Yorker. Now, the wide Yorker seems to be the stock ball now in white ball cricket, doesn't it? You know, you've got to get the guy out of the crease and you've got to get him stretching. And this is just, you know, my limited knowledge and expertise on it. But if I have one worry, it's still his footwork, and it's still, if you bowl there enough, is he going to, you know, come down the pitch? Is he going to adjust that body, or is he just going to stay stuck in his crease and swing his bat?
Yeah, well, that'll happen in time when he gets enough of those deliveries. And if people start to bowl that type of delivery to him, he's going to have to adjust, and he's going to have to learn how to play that particular delivery. It's not the easiest ball to bowl inside the tram lines, but I think it's a very effective delivery, because what you're trying to do, not only are you trying to restrict the scoring or the power of the batter by taking the power away from the, you know, under the eye, in the arc, you're also trying to cut off one side of the ground. So you can set a field accordingly, almost have 4 players on the offside boundary rather than your sort of normal 2 and 3 on either side, and bowl to one side of the ground. Now, you probably tend to do that more to the bigger side of the ground if there is one, if you're right in the middle of the ground. And the one thing about, you know, University Oval in Dunedin, it's not huge.
No.
We know that. And with the modern day player and the modern day bats, sometimes a half a hit can clear the boundary still. So, look, it's not easy. When that time comes that he's faced with a lot of those types of deliveries, then he will have to find a way to adjust. But as I said, I think there's a certain sense of maturity maybe starting to creep, a little bit of learning over the last year and a half or so. And, you know, you hope that when that happens, he is able to adjust and still able to find a way to pick up the odd boundary and get himself off strike as well.
Look, if he can continue this form, keep developing and growing, the T20 World Cup, to have somebody that could replace Brendan McCullum and also Guppy with that power hitting at the start, I mean, it just offers some. And then you've got Conway, who we know will find form at some stage. Just finally on this, you know, how much impact does an innings like that have? And I go back to Corey Anderson when he got that wicked one-day century against the Windies in Queenstown off about 37, 38 ball time. Remember that? And he got an IPL contract straight away from there. And he's still playing cricket, as Corey had some terrible injury problems. But an innings like that for Fennell, what does it do? Because everyone in the world who loves cricket knows about that innings now.
Yeah, they do. It's probably come at a good time for him, if I can say that in all fairness. If he'd done that prior to the IPL and all of a sudden picked up a huge contract, it adds an enormous amount of pressure. He's now got 8 months, 9 months. Now, if somebody gets injured in the IPL, he may be picked up as a replacement, courtesy of what he's doing at the moment. That's an option for him. But I also think that if he can continue his development over the next 7, 8, 9 months, have a good T20 World Cup, the next auction will be the one for him. You're always looking for power overseas players. You know, certain sides will be looking to replace guys at the top of the order who may be getting on a little bit, and guys who are out of form. So I think, in all fairness, although if it had come prior to the IPL, he might have got a big pay, and this has probably not come at a bad time.
Devlin.
You better believe it!
The platform.
Peter Fulton, 10-2. Peter, you know, the whole country is talking about this amazing innings from Finn Allen yesterday, and your position as Canterbury coach and the former batting coach for New Zealand as well. I'm really fascinated to first hear your thoughts on that innings, and then, you know, if you could, what kind of advice would you give a young man who's just hit it like that and then has to absorb that and keep playing and get on it and put it behind him?
Well, look, I think the first thing, you sort of touched on it. I mean, we're probably, you know, people have seen that sort of innings from Finn at domestic level for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and he's probably shown glimpses of it at international level. I think the T20 World Cup in Australia, that opening game, you know, he played a pretty explosive innings as well. But he's shown he's always had the talent, and he's shown it in sort of bits and pieces over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, but it looks like the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks so far, domestic cricket, and then obviously the series against Pakistan, he's starting to figure it out, which is a pretty scary thought for, you know, international bowlers, I would have thought.
How long can you dwell on that one knock though, and how important is it to just park it, put it behind you, and then refocus? Oh,
look, I mean, you've just summed up, you know, batting in a nutshell, really. If the players who can figure that out are generally the ones that go on to have the great careers. You look at the likes of, in New Zealand, the likes of Kane, Williamson. He's obviously figured that out, because he can go from one innings to the next and sustain those really long periods of good form. So that'll be the challenge for Finn. But in saying that, he played a really, really good innings in Hamilton.
Yes, he did.
As well. And so, like I said, he's shown he can do it more than just once. But the challenge for Finn will be, when he goes to plays in countries or where the pitches aren't quite as conducive for batting, or the boundary sizes aren't as conducive for run scoring, because probably I would say Hamilton and University Oval in Dunedin probably, by international standards, they're pretty small grounds, and when you play on flat wickets on really really small boundaries, then obviously there's a lot in your favour. But yeah, it probably won't be like that at the T20 World Cup in the West Indies during the winter.
Well, this is it, isn't it? And we go back to that innings last year, against Australia, and then, I mean, I've got to use the word disappoint, because, I mean, that's what happened from that point on. He just didn't get on with it. Same as Conway at the One Day World Cup, a great opening knock against England, and then just didn't get on with it. So, in your experience, and I mean, batting in cricket is one of the worst jobs in the world, I figure, because you can get done by the best ball that ever gets bowled to you. You can get called out, and it might be a bad decision. You get run out and everything else. So the margins are so fine. So if you're whispering in his ear, what would you say to him today?
Look, I think he's got to make sure that, I guess, like you touched on before, he understands that I guess that's your job at that level. You've got to perform on a consistent basis. But I think he probably plays at his best, I'm sure, when he's just he's not really thinking too much other than just watch the ball and try and hit it really hard. I think that's if he can simplify it, that probably gives him his best chance of having success, and that's probably why what we've seen so far in 50 over cricket. That's probably why he hasn't maybe had the same level of success, because he probably does start thinking about how hard he should be playing, how hard he should be going, and whether he needs to just rein it back a little bit here and there depending on the situation or the conditions. So I guess that would be the advice, is just keep watching the ball and letting your instincts take over, because when he does that, he's as destructive as any other player in the world that I've seen recently.
Peter Fulton is with his category coach right now, the former Backcaps batting coach. And I mean, obviously it's very easy on this side of the microphone, and also as a fan, just to concentrate and focus on him. But his teammates are putting him in a position to do that as well, aren't they? Let's kind of acknowledge that. The fact that they're giving him the confidence, the coach is giving him the confidence, and they're prepared to do what it takes around him when he's in that kind of form.
Yeah, I think you saw that, in probably the game in Hamilton initially. I think Devin Conway, obviously, smart cricketer, and realised that Finn was, he was going really well, and just looked to sort of almost feed him the strike a little bit. The same in the innings yesterday. I mean, I think if you look at the scorecard, I mean, there weren't, apart from Tim Seifert, there weren't too many other meaningful contributions, but that's probably because guys worked out that their job when they came in was just to get a one, because Finn was going so well. So, look, I think, again, you touched on the coaches and the management. I would imagine he was probably feeling a little bit of pressure coming into the series, because I think there was a stat going around that the last 16 T20 internationals that he played for New Zealand, he hadn't managed to still be batting when the power play finished, the top 6 overs. So I'd imagine he was probably feeling a little bit of pressure, and he's responded to it really well, and you would imagine now he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet for that T20 World Cup.
Yeah, and I'm just gobsmacked. I mean, I don't know why, but I just naturally assumed he had an IPL contract because he's had them before, but no, he doesn't have them now. But I mean, I'd say his first cab off the rank if anyone gets injured in any of these teams. Yeah,
you would imagine so. That's that's part of it as well. But timing, good. You've got to have
right.
Good timing on the field, and if you have good timing off the field as well, then you can make a lot of money.
Always appreciate your time and your comments, mate. How is your season going, and how are you loving being coach?
Oh, no, it's good. Yeah, it's good. We've got a really, good young group of players. We're right in the middle of the Super Smash at the moment, the pointy end of the season. So we're up in Hamilton today playing Northern Districts tonight. We've got 2 games left. So, yeah, it's sort of, it's all to play for. About 4 teams can still make the semis. So, really enjoying it. Yeah, like I said, nice to be sort of involved at this level and seeing some good young players come through.
Always a pleasure to catch up. Appreciate your time, mate.
Cheers, Martin.